we are not your grandmothers and grandfathers in NAACP. And I know some chapters that's what I think of. We wanted to make this organization that already existed, that had a name, to see if we could make it work more effectively for justice in our community.
One of the things that you see up in northwest Arkansas, Fayetteville, Rogers, Siloam Springs, that whole plex up there, they've got people that's down in Little Rock every day lobbying. That's why they have a higher life expectancy up. That's why all the wealth is up in northwest Arkansas. They even got their own airport up there now. Not just a little. I mean, they got planes going to Chicago and New York every day out of Fayetteville, Siloam Springs, and the Rogers and whatever else is. I forget the other city that's up there. But all that should be here. And I will give credit to Marco. And I know we all know Marco, so it's difficult for a person that you know for you to give him credit. You know, when they say a Providence land in his own home is usually not recognized, but he's doing a lot of things. Did y'all see the other day where he had a luncheon with the sanitation workers, and he pledged to raise our salary to $14 an hour. And so you see the new library going up down here. It's black contractors doing it too. The new fire station / police station up here, black contractors. That would have never happened before. He had some pushback on that. He even showed me his diversity plan where 20-some% of contracts got to go to blacks and so-called I hate these terms, but they're the terms that people use, and disadvantaged and at risk and all that kind of stuff, to make sure everybody gets a fair shake. And he had pushback on that. They didn't like it. But I mean, you know how it go. You know, get mad and get glad. So, it passed. That's Mr. John Reck from the Evening Time. Matter of fact, y'all might, the Evening Crimes. I'm sorry. I pledge to not say that anymore. We've been trying to get together, but the Evening Times has been bought by a new owner, right?
Paxton Media Group out of Paducah.
Okay. To be honest with you, Mr. John and I have always had a pretty decent relationship, even when we were having a few little odds and ends. And I told people, I said, we'll know when it's time to pivot and use some different rhetoric, and we are doing that. Mr. DK had a question.
When you get time, I want to hitchhike on what Vice President Johnson was saying in her question to him about what the NAACP is doing, and I have a couple of suggestions.
All right.
Go ahead. I also have a question in terms of election.
Okay, well, go ahead and tell us your suggestion.
Well, the greatest thing that the NAACP ought to be doing now is making a national concerted effort to reach out to our young people.
Yeah.
And they got to make some serious changes to do that. The first change they got to make is to look at the name. National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. That narrows the people that you're interested in. It can be changed to Advancement of People of Color, which expands the people that we're talking about.
That's the term.
Then you've got to learn how young people communicate. They don't communicate like we did. You got to learn how to rap. You got to learn, and that way you can get them interested in becoming part of the organization, so the organization continue to grow when we start getting Shabaka's age. So that's what you got to make a national effort to get our children, because they're interested, but you got to be able to communicate with them.
I agree with you. As a matter of fact, I argued about that 30 years ago, about that name, because at the time, black people were called colored. And so...
And that's a negative connotation.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
And people have asked me about it. I said, well, you know, I'll change a little that I can. Mr. Hollis?
Oh yes, I wanna speak on the election. President Shaw mentioned about trying to encourage, I guess, various people or whatever to run for office in order to bring the needed change. I agree with, trying to support those to run for office, especially when it comes to our local elections. Whether you're talking mayor, whether you're talking city council, county government, what have you. But
School board.
yes, but where we drop the ball at is when we trying to run candidates for state and national office. And one of the reasons that can be a credit to that is gerrymandering. Okay? You know, we talked about, I think he said he wanted the, what was it, cash bail system? That was one
Everybody
of
know
the-
what gerrymandering means? Okay, go ahead.
That was one of the initiatives that they planned to tackle. The thing is that, you know, I've been voting Democratic as well, you know, but we got to understand exactly, if we look at the last 50 years, before 2013, is when we became a red state, all across, I mean, bloody red. But if you go back past 2013, for the past 50 years, we've been just as blue as the sky, Democrat. Up on Clinton, okay, up on the BB and others. Now, let's look at the report card. What have people, I'm just gonna call black folks, what have black folks gained from voting these particular two governors in that I stated in other legislators? The thing is, that we're one of 4 states, and that's a fact. We're one of 4 states in the Southern Confederacy that have never, ever sent a black man or a black woman to Washington. Not one. That is a credit to gerrymandering. Okay? We just not enough of us, even in the state office.
But in the Delta it is.
You know. So the thing is that, you know, we have to go back. I think the last time the NAACP, I think it was down on Fort City end, to where they was trying to nothing else to get one district. You know, that somewhat to where we can send an elected candidate of our preferred choice to Washington D.C. Somehow we dropped the ball on that. So my question is, if we didn't do anything for the past 50 years up under a Democratic governor, and now we're up under a Republican administration, how do we plan? I'm not saying it's impossible, but I'm curious to know, how do we get there to try to reach across the table, working with a Republican administration, to try to have them to draw or redraw the boundary lines? I'm speaking of gerrymandering again. You know, that could be somewhat fair to where we can elect a preferred candidate of our choice, sending them to Washington. So I think that need to be one of the things that need to be on the initiative. You know, I think we need to go back to that and tackle the gerrymandering system. With that, I close.
Didn't they do some
I remember the
redistricting?
term gerrymandering, but can you refresh my memory of that from civics?
Basically drawing lines crooked, any kind of way you
Oh,
want
okay.
to draw us out of the picture.
He
Yeah.
said specifically it's the
Yeah.
drawing political boundaries to favor one group over another.
Exactly.
So like
It means white folks drawing political boundaries.
Yes.
For instance, here in West Memphis, back in the 70s and 80s, you could only get 2 blacks elected to the city council. Because they had all the black folks in one ward. But when, under the leadership of Reginald Robinson, we went and we filed federal lawsuits starting in the 80s. We filed a number of them. The one that I remember is Smith versus Clinton. That was Elbert Smith, NAACP, versus Bill Clinton, governor of Arkansas. Bill Clinton said, sue me, because he represents the state. It wasn't against him personally. And so the federal government, the federal court allowed us to draw what we call super black districts. Wasn't enough just to draw a district with 50%, or 55% black, but because of Jim Crow and institutionalized racism that withheld resources and blah, 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 blah from us, we could draw districts with 65% black population. Here's the problem. We still lost up in Turtle. I remember in 1990, or 91, or 92, Billy Joe Gill we had a district with 70% black, and they still go to their plantation. And you have to keep in mind that's why it's important to understand history. You know, black people existed here as slaves up and through the 70s and 80s. So, you know, be clear about that. You know, we had to have somebody white to vouch for us. If any of us got in any kind of trouble, if we didn't have somebody white, we were in trouble. And the whole system was set up that way. And that's why you see all those people up in Virginia today, because they are looking at a world that they think is changing, and that they aren't afforded the same privilege of being better than somebody. It's hard when you've been conditioned to be better than somebody. But the thing is that the responsibility is ours. So therefore the fault is ours. And I love to talk about the history of racism and slavery and Jim Crow in America. But at every juncture, it requires people like this man to get up and say, and put on some mud cloth pants, and you wonder why he got that on. And you understand what I'm saying? Or you wonder, well, why did you change your name? Why you talk all this black talk? Because you're the problem. You're the same, you're trying to hold on to slave thinking.
We are not your grandmothers and grandfathers in NAACP. And I know some chapters that's what I think of. We wanted to make this organization that already existed, that had a name, to see if we could make it work more effectively for justice in our community.